So now we're going to review the order of operations. This should definitely be something that you're familiar with. So the order of operations, I've given you this sheet before. This is a graphic organizer or a visual way of keeping the steps straight. And so when we look at this graphic organizer that looks somewhat like a pyramid, we need to remember that we work our way down. So the top is the first step, and the top step is P, which is parentheses. And there's a couple of types of parentheses. We could have curved, brackets, or we could have these curly ones. And those could be one inside the other, which is a little tricky. Those are called nested parentheses. If you have nested parentheses, you should know that you have to start with the parentheses furthest to the inside. The second step in the order of operations, working our way down, is exponents. And honestly, parentheses and exponents can kind of take place at the same time because they're separate things from each other. Then we get to our operations, multiplying and dividing and adding and subtracting. And you'll notice that I have them on the same step. Now, some people get confused when they see this. They think this means that multiplying is always going to be on the left and dividing is always going to be on the right. This is meant to be separate, okay? So when you multiply or divide and an expression has both of them in there, you do whichever one comes first in the order of left to right. So if it was division instead, okay, then you would actually do the division first, okay? And it does matter because if you jump over here and you do multiplication first, you're going to get 1 as the answer, which would be incorrect. If you have multiplying and dividing, you do them in the order they appear from left to right. So you're going to do 12 divided by 3, which is 4, and then multiply 4 times 4 to get 16. So it's very important that you understand that you don't just jump over to multiplication because M comes first in the acronym. Okay? So something to keep in mind there. Okay. And then the same thing is true with adding and subtracting. You do them in the order they appear. So when you add and subtract, whatever comes first is what you do. So if I had something like 12 minus 8 plus 6, I would not jump over here and do this first. If I did that, I would get -2. I do them in the order that they appear from left to right. So I'm going to do the 12 minus 8, which is 4, and then plus 6, and I do get a different answer. So it is very important that you do this process correctly. So we're going to practice order of operations, but we're going to do it in the context of evaluating expressions. So what does it mean to evaluate expressions? Well, that means to rewrite the expression and substitute the numbers that are given for the variables. And then we use order of operations to simplify or evaluate. So in these examples over here, we are going to use a value of C as -3 and the value of D as 5. So every time I see a C and a D, I'm going to replace them with what they actually represent. So I'm going to replace this C right here with a -3. And then I'm going to replace the D with a 5. And then I'm going to need you to be really careful with this negative. We know that the value of C is also negative, but that negative is not there. The negative on C is meant to be separate from that. So I'm going to write it like this, -3 in parentheses being squared. Okay, now I'm going to follow order of operations. So the first step is to do the parentheses, and you honestly could do the exponents at the same time. 3 minus 5 is -2. -3 squared means -3 times -3, and that's going to equal 9. Now I see that I have 2 operations left. I have multiplication and then a subtraction. So the order of operations tells me that multiplication comes next. When you multiply -3 times -2, you get 6. And then 6 minus 9 is -3. So let's do another one. Again, we're replacing C values with -3. we're replacing D values with 5. So be careful again right here. This does not mean the negative is included with D, although it won't matter on this one. It means that D is separate. Well, D is 5. Okay, so we need to be careful that we separate that. Minus 4, D again is 5. Minus 2, and this means 2 times C, so I'm going to put a dot in there. And then the value of C is negative 3. So now I need to take care of parentheses, and I need to take care of exponents. So let's take care of the parentheses first. Inside the parentheses, I see subtraction and multiplication. I'm going to do the subtraction first. That's going to give me 5 minus negative 6. And you should recognize that when you have a double negative, that means plus. So I'm really going to do, I'm going to do this all in one step now. I'm going to take care of this exponent and this parentheses at the same time. 5 squared is 25. 5 plus 6 is 11. Okay, so my last step is to try to figure out what operation to do. I see 2 operations. I see subtraction, and then this is multiplication. Multiplication needs to take place first. So I am going to get negative 25 minus 44. And then if you know your integer rules, you know that negative 5 minus 44 means the same thing as negative 25 and negative 44. So that's going to give me negative 69. And then my last one, again, we're replacing D's with 5 and C's with negative 3. So for the D value, I'm going to use 5 minus. For the C value, I'm going to use negative 3 plus 3. This means 4 times C. This means 2 times D. So I'm going to do 4 times negative 3 plus 2 times 5. And then now I'm going to take care of parentheses. I notice inside the parentheses, I have multiplication, addition, and multiplication. That means the 2 multiplications are going to take place first. So I'm going to use this and this at the same time. That is negative 12 plus 10. Then I will go ahead and do what's left in the parentheses, which is negative 2. All right, and then I need to recognize what's left. Well, I have subtraction, addition, and multiplication. Multiplication comes before the subtraction and addition. So I am going to do this first. That's going to give me 5 minus negative 3 plus negative 6. Now, everything that's left is addition and subtraction. We'll do them in the order they appear from left to right. There's a double negative in that subtraction, so that's going to change to addition. So then now I know that this is going to give me 8. And then I have negative 6. So that is going to give me an answer of, not wanting me to do it that way, 2. Okay, so we still practice order of operations. We just did it in the context of